Here's a good question from Dick Ingersoll. We answered one of his questions previously. He asks, my wife and I would like to spend about 3 months traveling and then about 6 months back in the States and then back out for three more. What would be the best time of year to travel in South and Central America? By best, I'm looking for a time of year that's not the most expensive but has good weather. Well, Dick, you've identified a fairly big part of the world. First of all, let's break it down and say, in the tropics, okay, which, technically is identified as the area between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, which is, I'm not sure exactly how many degrees north and south of the equator, but the point is that if you're within the tropics, in other words, Panama, Costa Rica, most of Central America, most of southern Mexico, and that same distance heading to the south of the equator, in other words, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, heading into Peru, and northern Brazil, you're in the tropics, and that means that there's typically a rainy season and a dry season. In Costa Rica and in Panama on the northern side of the equator, the rainy season is and the dry season are the same. But then when you go to the southern side of the tropics, in other words, Ecuador or Colombia, the time frames reverse. So when it's rainy season in Panama, it's dry season in Ecuador because you're on the other side of the equator. So and then as you get further south, like if you're talking about Chile, Argentina, or Uruguay, southern Brazil, you are now you're into climates more along the lines of North America, and so you get a winter and a summer where the temperature increases and decreases significantly depending on the season, and of course they're the opposite of North America, so their summer, is in December, January, February, March, and their winter is in our summer, which is July, August, September, what have you. So the answer is, in my opinion, you want to avoid the rainy season in the tropics if you can. For Panama, that's or Costa Rica even, that's for the most part, July through November, and you probably want to avoid the winter in southern South America. So you want to avoid July, and through September in South America, but you probably want to avoid the winter too. So the shoulder months are really good times to visit. The shoulder months in southern South America would be the same as our shoulder months, fall and spring, although they'd be reversed. And then in the tropics, I kind of like the beginning of the rainy season usually isn't too bad. So in Panama, April and May are good times. Obviously, December through May is the driest. And I think it's very, very much the same heading into Costa Rica and even into the rest of Central America. So, you can dig up climate information off the internet. Some of the material in the research membership that you download when you upgrade your membership has year-round climate information in it. Try to go on the shoulder months. Usually they're the ones that aren't too expensive, and yet you still get pretty good climate.